countries and 43 states, to include Afghanistan, Iraq, South Korea, and the Ukraine. He is also first-generation college graduate and went to earn his master's degree in public administration, a certificate in project management, and 2 cybersecurity certificates. Berney currently works in the information technology and cybersecurity sector and has been an active mentor for the youth, particularly young black men in the greater Baltimore area. That's my area. Thank you, Berney, for your service. He is a tireless advocate for his community and a Christian and a role model for many young men throughout our state. Berney is a resident of Elkridge in Howard County, where he and his lovely wife of over 33 years have raised 2 children. Come on up, Berney. About to hear from a great patriot. Great man in Baltimore City doing some great things, very much needed in Baltimore City.
Chris, why'd you tell all those lies? Thank you guys for coming out. I see a lot of faces that I recognize and know. I won't get into trying to acknowledge everyone, because when you're in front of a crowd, you might get nervous and screw it all up. My brother, Dr. Ray over here, told me I had about 4 minutes to speak. So I wrote down some words rather than trying to remember from memory, although it's etched in my brain, but I could go for days talking about this. So with that said, this is what happened to me on September the 11th, 2001. I was a young Air Force major working at the Air Staff at the Pentagon. September 11th, 2001 was a typical day. My wife and kids slept as I left the house at 0445 hours to begin my daily commute. My old friend Cale Morris and I met at one of the local slug lots and picked up a rider and headed north on I-95. We had to access the high occupancy vehicle lane before 0500. Otherwise, we'd have to pay. You know, military people are notoriously cheap. So we headed north to the city from our homes in Woodbridge, Virginia. We parked in the parking garage under our building and readied ourselves for the challenges of the day. It's now 0600. It was a typical day. We checked email for tasks and orders, and we determined what needed to be done. And then a few of us walked downstairs to a little cafe for breakfast. By the way, we weren't at the Pentagon at the time. We were in leased space in Roslyn, Virginia, since the Pentagon was under renovation. It was a typical day. After morning huddles and briefs, I had to catch a shuttle. Most mornings I had to go brief my miserable colonel and his staff at the status of whatever issue we might be working that day. That happens usually at 1000 hours. On that morning, I had my new captain with me. His name is Chad Lewis. He was a brand new captain, and I was showing him the ropes. So at about 0840, I grabbed Chad and we headed out the door. Me and the noob had a shuttle to catch at 0845. Me and the noob got to the bus stop, and he had forgotten his notebook. I was mad, but we had to go back. We'll catch the next bus shuttle, no big deal. It was a typical day. We went back inside the building, and all of a sudden, something wasn't right. I didn't know what it was, but there was great confusion among our leadership. We were told to lock down, stay inside the building, shelter in place. I'm happy. It's just another drill. I don't have to see that colonel. I'm good to go. I couldn't have been more wrong. It was not a typical day. The news was out. New York's World Trade Center had been attacked. We, the United States, the mighty U.S. military, were on our knees. None of our disaster preparedness plans and drills have been followed. Our leaders locked us down in commercial spaces, and we were all sitting ducks. Communications were down, no cell phone, no nippernet, no supernet, no JWICs. We were the United States Air Force Communications Directorate, and we couldn't communicate with anybody. All of a sudden, the word came across CNN, our only link to the outside world. The Pentagon had been attacked. We were 3 miles away in an office building, and we couldn't hear what was going on, but we knew it was bad. All of a sudden, the order came for us to get outside and reconstitute in the parking lot across the street. I guess the local leadership thought we were safer outside than inside our leased space. So there we were outside, vulnerable and confused. We smelled the dark metallic smell of jet fuel burning metal and the explosion that happened 3 miles away. And just think, had Chad Lewis had remembered his notebook, we would have been on that shuttle bus that delivered to the north side of the Pentagon. We would have been on deck to brief my miserable colonel, right where the airliner skidded into the building. If not had been for Chad Lewis's missing notebook, we would have been on the north side of the Pentagon, within the Air Staff's offices, waiting to brief at 09:37 hours. We would have been incinerated. It was not a typical day. Thank you for your time.